Okay, this light behind me has been bright lately. Haven't you noticed that? Why did it get so bright? It's blaring. As if that's any better, right? And my stove light, I have to get a light bulb for that. Alright, so what's happening here is today is... Oh, geez. February 14th of 2023. Isn't that amazing? And I'm so depressed. I'm not going to dwell on it, though, people. Like, seriously, I don't got time to fool around here. I'm going to can butter. That's why I'm putting on this video. I'm just clearing off the counter. Take a few buckets downstairs with Andre. He'll help me. I bought all that butter the last time I went off and seen the eye doctor, right? And I forgot about it for a couple of weeks. And it's been on my mind for the last week, right? And I don't want to make ghee. I already have ghee. I don't want to put any in the freezer. I need to make more room in the freezer, and I already have some in the freezer. But I'm going to attempt to can butter, quote-unquote butter. Lots of people do it. They've been doing it for a lifetime. And it's not recommended that you can butter or cheese or any of that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, it's a fat, right? And, you know, it comes from an animal. It's a low-acid food. So you treat it like any other acid food. I think where the problem is, in terms of like, you know, a warning not to do it, blah, 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 is because when you think of butter, right, you know, you take it out of the fridge and, you know, you what do you call it? You, take a knife and you scrape it and you put it on your bread, or you leave it out on the counter and it softens up. You take a knife, you spread it on your bread or whatever, and yeah, you know, you put it in one of these things, right? You know what I mean? And because of that, you know, if it's been processed through a home canning process system, you know, there is always that potential for botulism, right? So, because, you know, I'm watching other videos, been watching it for years, and I read the comments, and you know, I've asked people, well, since you do it, you know, like, what do you do with it after the fact? Do you heat it up, or do you just use it as is? They say that they use it just like they would with butter. So I think that's where, you know, a government agency that says don't can butter can't give that 100% guarantee that it won't have botulism in it, right? Because it's a low-acid food. So therefore, before they take the risk and say, oh yeah, you know, it's 99.9% chance you'll be fine, right? They're not going to do that. They're just going to say don't do it, because they're not going to want to risk that 0.1% in terms of being held liable, because it says somewhere in there that it said it was okay and somebody else got sick or whatever, right? Okay. So for me, I just don't want it to spoil in the fridge. It should be fine, and I bought a fair amount, and I paid like almost $7 a pound. It was expensive. That's why I have to do this and just get it over with. It's either that or make ghee, but I don't want to make ghee. I'm going to try the butter, and I'm going to use it for cooking, whether I'm making cakes or whatever. Maybe after it's all said and done and everything's cleared out, we'll try it. You know, it all depends, people, right? We'll see if we can, what do you call it? Get into some maybe more fine pastry, that kind of thing, right? And then, of course, you can heat it up, on, you know, in a pot on the stove. You know, don't boil it too much because you're going to burn it, right? But you can bring up the heat and, you know, put a lid on it and lower the heat and, you know, just kind of simmer it for, you know, where it's not at that burning point, but it's, right, to be double sure in terms of following that golden rule when it comes to canning low-acid foods, whether they're animal products or vegetables, that kind of thing. Right? So I think I'm going to attempt to do that after I get a few things out of here. And so that's why I'm going to do the video today. Because that's a video I don't have up. Because I've never canned butter before. But I don't think it's much different than anything else that I've canned. Right? It shouldn't be. Unless, of course, as my butter is cooking, it starts to turn into ghee, which is fine by me. Either or, it doesn't matter. Right? The difference between butter and ghee is, about 5 minutes in cooking time. Once it starts to come into that boil, right? You boil, 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 and then it starts to change. And when it changes, that's pretty much when you're done. Right, it starts to go clear, and once it goes clear, it looks like an olive oil. That's when you basically give it not even a minute more, maybe even less, seriously, and then that's how you get your ghee. But even if you overcook it a little bit and it gets a little darker, it's still fine in terms of quote-unquote ghee. And then what you get left at the end of the bottom of the pot is all the minerals and the calciums and those kind of things, the heavy, like, you know, the you can see the actual particles of the actual minerals and the calcium and whatever that's in the actual butter itself. So, but if I'm not fighting over a freaking pot and that, you know, that round thing that I had with the lid and it plugs in that electric frying pan. Do you think I can find the cord now? I wiped it down, put it someplace, and now I can't find it. Anyway, now I'm fighting over, you know, these bags? These bags? Well, I have them in a big tote bag. Whole bunch, right? And Tisha came over yesterday. Anyway, I'm not going to tell you the whole story, but an argument broke out just because, and she wants to run off with this bag of these bags to throw them out, people, because, you know, things are cluttered, right? You got too many buckets up here, you need downstairs. And I'm like, yeah, well, you know, why do you think I'm asking you to come and help me for a few hours without the kids, right? Because, you know, with whatever it may be. Like, seriously, right? Because, you know, I had sorted out all the lot, like, clothes in the bedroom, and all in piles, you know, but I got busy out here, and food, and cleaning, and whatever, and Andre going there, and ripping things apart, and trashed everything around, and I'm like, whatever. You know, asked Tisha to come by, and just a couple, 2-3 hours, you know, right? Without Kyrie mostly, because, you know, he's small, right? And just help me just to go through it. Some of those clothes can fit Kyrie. If she doesn't want them, then, you know, either put them online, because I've got those sleepers that Amari's outgrown now, or she's going to say, oh no, save them, Mom, just in case I have another kid. And I'll be, yeah, okay. Yeah, you want me to save the sleepers for you, right, and take up my space, and then, you know, because it's, you know, that space is taken up with those sleepers as I'm saving them for you, I don't have space for stuff over there that I need to put in where those sleepers are. You know, this is what I mean by kids, right? Like, they're just, they get on my freaking nerves. So anyway, she came by and she went off to the gym, and I watched her kids and my little grandkids, and she came back, and I asked her to help me to give Amari a bath, right? Because, you know, so anyway, he was in there laughing, and she goes, he's kicking. Oh, what am I supposed to do? Because, you know, he likes to kick, right? And I'm like, well, you figure it out, right? Like, what do you think I go through? Like, come on. Like, seriously, man. And, okay, so whatever. And then, you know, rushing around, right? This rushing, right? And she's ready to rush out the door, and I'm like, well, gee, you know, like, what the fuck, right? Like, you know, I don't even feel like I have a daughter, right? You know, like, fuck, I got 2 dead daughters, and, you know, I need a little extra help here just for a little while anyway, you know, I'm trying to prepare her, people. You know, I told her, I said, look, you know, we need to work on selling shit, and this and that, and, you know, and then she starts with her, you know, you this and you that, you, and I'm like, what, you know, shut up, right? Oh, well, you know, what do you need these bags for? And then the focus was on these stupid bags. Oh, my God. And I'm like, well, because, I'm going to use them, right? I'm not using them right now. I'm still fucking emptying them out, people. Like, what the fuck, right? I've got 2 more downstairs with that whole oak roach yet I have to do. Bring 1 bag up today, right? As I'm finishing up this bag, and I don't need to explain myself to a freaking 24-year-old, right? That doesn't want to fucking learn anything. You know what I'm saying? Because it pretty much boils down to that, because she can just simply go to the grocery store and buy a box of fucking crackers with bug flour in it and not care. As if she's going to look in the back to see if it has cricket flour in it. No. She'll just take it for granted that it doesn't. And then when her kids get sick, because they're eating freaking bugs on a regular basis, what's she going to do? Just take I don't know what's wrong. I don't know what's wrong. Well, I don't know. Maybe look in the back of your package of your freaking crackers or whatever it is that you buy them. Being that you're, I don't want to say rich bitch, but basically, like, don't expect me to be that way. And these bags are expensive because that's what she said. You don't need these bags. And I said, yes, I do. I'm going to be used. Why? No. You can just go to Canadian Tire and buy more. I said, why should I have to? You see, that's the thing. Why should I have to go buy new bags at Canadian Tire when I already have the fucking bags? I already went through this with my kids already when Marcane chucked everything out of the fucking basement. A whole bunch of them already got ruined. I managed to salvage a few of them, right? And I haven't had a chance to use them yet. And if I was to use them, I'd either use them, if and when I can get things online to sell, right? I have like series of books, like child craft series and right, like really nice books, okay? Or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. I can use those bags as you take a stack of books, you put them in a fucking plastic bag, you tape it all up nice, you put them in a freaking paper bag, right? Because these are thick. These aren't Home Depot bags. These are food bags, okay? Right? I'm just using this as an example. And then you can put it in a box if you want. And everything's insulated. So that when the box is traveling, it doesn't get, the corner of the book gets busted up or something dumb like that. Or I can just take more brown paper that I have and wrap up what I just did and put it in the mail if I want to. Or I can cut the bag in freaking half and I can lay it down on the ground as landscaping fabric before I put on landscaping fabric, just as an extra layer to prevent weeds from growing up, at least for a little while, as the bag will decompose into the earth and provide nutrients, because you can do that with brown paper, just like cardboard. Right? Or maybe I'll do something else with them. Maybe I'll do a craft with them. Get into some paper macheing, and I'll be like, "Oh, gee, this is what we need, Andre. We got a whole bunch. We'll make something big, right? And I'll Mod Podge it so it can handle the freaking rain, and we'll put it out in the yard, right? Make a big round freaking snowman or something. You know what I'm saying? And put it out there with some lights this year, assuming that I can see, because I'm sure in the hell not going to get any freaking help for it or with it, outside of maybe Andre making it with me. I can do a lot of things with those bags, people. And I resent my daughter trying to grab them and run out the freaking door, accusing me of being excessive. Yeah, they're in the way. Yeah, well, yeah, of course they are in the way. My son threw everything out of the fucking basement. What do you expect? Right? I've been doing food prep for how long? Right? Okay? And yeah, I do have plans for those bags. I don't need to go to freaking Canadian Tire and spend $40 or $50 or whatever it is on bags. I already have the bags. I just don't have the time to use them yet. Right? I can make a freaking scarecrow with them. Paper mache scarecrow. There's an idea. As a, you know, like a big one. Put it up by a little pond. Scare the freaks away. A lot of fucking freaks running around. So, anyway, speaking of bags, okay, I love this. Oh yes, I want to talk about black rice. Maybe what I'll do is I'll upload this. I'm gonna just talk for a little while. I mean, I gotta do this butter. I have to, right? I have to. Get out of here, stupid cat. Shelly's always asking me how I'm doing. Well, I'm doing. That's how I'm doing. Yeah. I'm gonna do until I can't do no more. And that's just the way it's gonna be. And then when that time comes, I'll find something else to do. Right? And I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. In the meantime, Tisha says, well, you can't see. Obviously, you're having a hard time seeing. Why that bag sitting there with all those bags? Trust me, I can see those bags. And now that she got me mad, I'm actually glad that she did, because maybe I might do that come springtime. I think making either a scarecrow or maybe like I don't know, kind of like just a snowman, but not in a traditional sense. Just something else, right? Something similar to a snowman. I don't know. Make something. Anyway, okay. So, because I am finishing up here. Oh yeah. Shelly, you haven't mentioned how the product was from the food that was shipped out from my way. I'm thinking you haven't made it to your godfather's house yet, because you said you've been having issues and getting sick because your landlord is not providing you with adequate heat. So, but I am kind of curious to know if you've put your fingers into it yet, and what your feelings are on it, right? Because I myself, you know, I'm in my glory, so, you know, I'm just wondering if you get the same feel, right? So in the meantime, because I am finishing up, now, when I was doing the rice, I want to just touch base on the rice, just so that we have a better understanding of how to preserve rice long term. Basically, there's 4 types of rice outside of specialty rices. Okay, so we're going to go with just the standard white rice in whatever form it comes in, because they have different names, right? Then we have the brown rice with the different brands. Then we have the black rice, right? And then we have the wild black rice. Okay. So, with that, white rice, which has the least amount of nutrients, is the one that can store the longest long term, providing that you protect it from the elements, because rice likes to absorb moisture. Okay? So you're going to have to put it in some kind of container that's tightly sealed and in a cool, dark place if you're going to store it for any length of time with an oxygen absorber. Okay. How you choose to do that is up to you. Now, brown rice and black rice, they're similar in nature because they're the same rice, outside of brown rice has had some of the black part of it taken off through the processing. When they process it, right? And that's why it's brown, because it doesn't have as much of the outer coating like the black rice, but technically they're basically the same, although black rice tends to have more nutrients because it has more of the original husk on it. So, with that said, black rice and brown rice have the potential of going rancid over a 6-month period or more. They say brown rice is only good shelf stable in your pantry for 6 months and a bit. Well, the same is true, I guess, for black rice. However, food preppers that do this kind of stuff, that go for that long mile, right, in terms of long-term food storage, with nutrients in mind and that kind of thing, the best way to store, I guess you can say, brown rice, although I never would, I'd go with the black before I'd ever go with the brown. Okay? Is to kind of do what I did. Really. And what did I do? I put it in a paper bag. Then I put it in a vacuum seal bag. Then I took an oxygen absorber. I put it in the paper bag, folded it over, and then I vacuum sealed the bag. And then I put it in a Mylar bag with another oxygen absorber. Okay? That is one of the best methods that you can do to preserve either, I guess, brown rice or black rice that has the potential to stay fresh for at least 5 years compared to 6 months in a jar or in a bag or any kind of container. Okay? You kind of have to take out the air and obviously keep it out of the light so that you lock in the oils that are under the husk, right? Because with white rice, it can sit for 20, 35 years, whatever, right? 20 years, 25 years or more, okay? In a bucket with an oxygen absorber out of the light, okay? But it has no husk on it. That's why it can do that. Where this does. So if you want to go for those extra nutrients with your brown rice or with your black rice, well, then yeah, I would highly recommend that you vacuum seal them, but put them in a bag first, okay? Because that bag just gives them, just gives that little extra protection. You know, it's I don't know. I just think it's a good idea, right? And use your oxygen absorbers, and then put them in another container, and then put them away, and try and use them within 5 years. And being that they sat there for 5 years in that kind of condition, let's just say, there is a good probability that they'll still be like that if you ran a little late. In other words, you don't get to it until maybe 6 years down the line. Either or, if it goes rancid, you're going to smell it. It's not recommended. It's not recommended to eat it, okay? Because there could be mold in there or whatever. So it's best to chuck it. So that's why people don't invest into storing quote-unquote brown rice or black rice for any length of time, long-term food storage, because it costs more money and there's a higher risk to spoilage. But if you go that little extra mile, and then with that in mind, now that I know, okay, then you make an effort to use it more into your staples. So I'm already in my mind, because I've got my food mill that can grind up this kind of stuff, right? I can grind it up and make flour and incorporate it into pasta or whatever. Crackers or whatever. Into Amari's drinks. As I'm, when we get into that stage. Things that Tisha doesn't know that I'm planning to do. But before I can do anything, if I don't have the tools, the resources, the ingredients, I'm not going to be able to do nothing. Okay, so And then as for the wild rice, because it has that outer husk, and like I've said this before, you can have it in I don't know where it is. Moved it. This is, I think, the rice, the black rice. Or maybe it's the lentils. Either or. Let's just say this is wild rice. Okay? Black wild rice. Because of the husk, and I know this for a fact, you can have it in a jar in your cupboard and it can sit there for years and years and years and years and years and years and still be good. Okay? It's when you're opening and closing all the time, maybe that's the problem. Right? But, so, I vacuum sealed with, just like I did with over here with the oxygen absorber and stuff. That should be fine, but you can also just put it in a jar. What does this say? You can also just put it in a jar. You know how I use those 1 gallon jugs? Well, you could put it in something like that. And then if you wanted to, you could throw in an oxygen absorber and put it away like that long term. Okay? But it's not as, what I'm saying is it's not as fickle as black rice. This is black rice. This one you need to go out of your way to do something with if you want to keep it for 5 years. At least. Right? Whereas wild rice, you don't have to worry about it so much. You don't have to be so anal about it, or so, excessive or whatever, right? You just have to be aware, okay? So, yeah, I will buy 25 pounds at some point in the future and get the wild rice because it's a rice that can store for a long time and it's good for nutrients and all that other stuff, but it's expensive. But that will be just one of those days when you push the button. In other words, you get the order ready, you walk around, you think about it, it might take you a few hours, but eventually you just sit down and say, fuck it, and you push it, and you spend your $378 on 25 pounds of wild black rice, right? But once you got it, you don't have to worry about it for a long time. And of course, just like I'll be grinding up the black rice and whatever else, I'll be doing something with that because that's what I plan on doing, right? Assuming that I make it, people, that far. Like, seriously. I get no love for this shit. Absolutely fucking none. Absolutely none. But whatever. I don't do it for that reason. Oh, yeah. Andre wants to be a chef. And just with the way the world is going, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to encourage him, instead of thinking about being, because I tell him he can look after Amari. Amari needs Andre around to keep an eye on him when I'm not here. So, we'll see how that goes. Because Andre's going to be big, and Andre's been with him ever since he's been a baby, and, it's just Andre's a little too young to do the daily grind yet, right? And then I tell him, if you look after him, because there's not too many people out there that want to, let's just put it that way. And I certainly don't want him in foster care, right? So, or in some group home, right? Then he can have his little side gig on the side. And this is another reason why I'm bringing in all this musical equipment and computer and programs and that kind of thing so that he can work on his side gig and find his own way as to what that side gig would be. So, we were talking about him being a chef, and I'm like, well, it's a what you call a niche industry, right? And it's not what you think, Andre. There's these hotels, people going out of business, and there's a lot of chefs out there that are looking for jobs. And, if you get into some big hotel, next thing you know, they're going to want you to get inoculated because the government said so. And if you don't do that, you're going to lose your job. And it's not recommended that you do that because, people are dying suddenly. You know, that's not no news flash, and you know, you need to be aware, and but either or, I said, don't worry, because now I'm going to be teaching you what I can teach you, right? So after he went to bed, I thought about it, and I'm like, okay, you don't want to discourage him from what he wants to do. So instead of maybe being a chef, why not being an owner to a restaurant? To which I have that through my family line. My grandfather and grandma had their own restaurant. My Uncle Nick had his own restaurant. My Auntie Jerry had her own restaurant. My Uncle Harry had his own restaurant. I'm sure there's a few other ones in there that had their own restaurant. Right? So you know, it's in his genes, right? That's what I'm trying to say. It's in his genes, and then if you find your niche within your restaurant in terms of what do you want to serve, and what I came to as a common denominator, as a conclusion right from the beginning, was wholesome, basically homemade, cooked food from real produce and products, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're going to sell pet a hair, like a pierogi, then you don't go off and buy the store-bought ones. No. You make them. And then this way they come out big and juicy. And you get your customers coming in just for that. With some sauerkraut and a nice kupasa, which is a sausage, on the side. Right? People will come just for that. And they might not even be Polish or Ukrainian or Russian or any of that. They'll just come for the wholesome, homemade food at the cafe. Right? And then he can make bread, because I'm going to teach him how. And I'm going to tell him, and when your time comes to have your own restaurant or cafe or whatever, I got recipes from a bakery that put together products in bulk. It's already written down for you, Andre. You just need the equipment. And trust me, by the time he gets to that age, if he really wants to do it, he'll know how to do it, because he'll have those skills. And Amari can go to work with him. Yeah. Amari can go to work with him and hang out and be Chef Amari. I just say. So for as depressed as I am, because I'm not really getting any moral support with whatever, I'm still trying to stay positive, people. I think that's a pretty positive idea. Andre, I don't know if you'll ever make it to a chef, but you can be your own boss, and you can be a baker, and you can be a chef in your own kitchen. And have good relationships with your customers. Yeah. He's excited for his stuff coming. He said, when is the music stuff coming now? I said, soon, Andre. Soon. Yeah, so hang in there. All right, so now, because I am finishing up, I like this with the Mylar. So I find the 10 by 14 size bag on Amazon in bulk, or however, 10 by 14 works well with the lunch bags. Okay? So I bought those to empty out those boxes downstairs that are already vacuum sealed with things and just whatever, and repackaged. And then I just got another miscellaneous one, same idea. I bought it more for this size bag, because once I'm done, then for all the other little things in there. But those little bags, if and when I ever get into my blind woman's auction, then yeah, I'll be putting like earrings or something, or you know, and some tissue paper and putting them in that little Mylar bag and then, you know, something and shipping them off that way, assuming that I do that, right? I'm just saying, like, I'm like, what would you do with it? Well, that's what I might do with it, right? And it has oxygen absorbers, 400 cc, 100 of them in 10 to a pack. So that enticed me. I like it better 10 to a pack. Okay? So if you're going to get oxygen absorbers, look for those 10 to a pack. Okay? Because it's less stress when you're filling up these bags. So between this and what I have in terms of Mylar bags over there, I should have now enough to finish what I need to do in regards to everything that needs to be done. And then once it's done, it's done. I don't have to worry about it too much, except for when I want to go off and buy 25 pounds of black rice, right? And, you know, but there's no hurry on it just yet. You know, I can do that in 4 or 5, 6 months from now. And that's probably what I'll do, right? So what else is there to talk about other than I'm going to go do butter. I'm going to do canned butter. So I don't know if I should just leave this video. Maybe I'll just I don't have time to sit in front of the computer and strain my eyes to try and convert it over just to upload it. I'll just leave it and I'll come back when I've got the butter, because the butter is going to be pretty straightforward. That's why I just want to show you. It's a pretty straightforward process. It's just more prep time than anything else. And standing here and watching a pressure canner for 75 minutes, okay? Because I'm going to use 1 pint size jars, assuming that I have them. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, I'm getting a bit of a headache here, but we're going to do this. This from my eyes, right? I'm listening to a woman homestead something. I'll add a link to it, to this video, okay?
At 225, 35 degrees, something like that, just to keep the jars hot, because we are going to be canning some hot butter, okay? All right, let's go ahead and make butter powder. Let me show you what butter I'm using.
You want metal?
I'm using the Great Value brand butter. I like using this.
I'm using...
It seems to work better for you. I've attempted to can the expensive butter. LOL. I've attempted to can
this
that
pot,
butter, and it didn't quite work out.
Okay, it's a little higher.
I mean, it was kind
It has a bottom to it,
good,
right?
You know? So
It's not as heavy as I'd like it, but
what I've been canning, and that's
anyway,
just
we've got that pot.
Now, you can can salted or unsalted, or you can do like I'm doing.
And then what we're gonna do,
An equal amount of each one.
because I like to read comments on these videos.
6 pounds of unsalted. And the reason being, sometimes the salt can get so intense once
I've got,
you can it. You don't
well, I've got more than 12 jars.
salty.
So anyway, I'm going to be washing my jars and then putting them in the oven at 250 to dry them completely. You want no water of any kind,
I
right?
like it when I mix
So that your lids dry them, right?
with the salted, it gives it a perfect balance. I love it.
Before I
And I'm
start
down to
though,
my last jar of butter. Y'all, what is the date on this?
okay,
June 8th.
we're going to see how many pounds of butter I have here, people.
June 8th of 2015. So this butter is just at
Too many to count.
and it's my last one, and I'm probably going to be opening it. Let me see. I don't know. I might not need to open it for another week or so, you know, but I'm canning more of it. Now, and you see how beautiful it is, right? Isn't that gorgeous? This is 5 years old, and it still looks as beautiful as the day I canned it. So, I'm going to put that to the side, and I'm
Nice
gonna
and
go
cold.
now so we can get
But what we
started
want to do
with our butter.
before we throw it in the pot
Try this ice ancient ritual.
is maybe let it come to a little bit more to room temperature
Ancient ice ritual.
so it melts faster. Hold on a minute.
This ancient ritual feeds your cells pure oxygen along with microscopic healing ingredients that reaches deep inside your cells. Something not possible until now. This method is 10 times more effective than any...
Okay. And then after the dates are done, when this is pressure canning, I'm gonna go get the dates that are in the dehydrator, and I'm gonna start, I put them in the dehydrator hole, right? So on the outside they're somewhat dry, but they're not dry, I know, on the inside. So I'm gonna chop them all up and put them back into dehydrator and continue dehydrating them. And then once that's done, I have another box that I'm gonna dehydrate. I've decided to dehydrate them. So while it's pressure canning, I'm going to stand here and cut them and get them ready, right?
I got it from Walmart. It wasn't no expensive pot. So I got my pot here and stove.
These eye drops are just like, oh, they're making me just, you don't even know.
All of my butter and just get it put in here, okay?
You don't even know, people. I forgot about this butter. But it's been in Auntie Shimei's fridge, which is hardly ever opened. So it's nice and cold. So it'll be fine. I don't know what she's doing there. So we've got... And then after I'm done doing maybe this batch of dates, okay, then I'm going to dehydrate some cheese. And when I do that, I'll do a video on that as well, right? I had to order some cotton fabric. I got it all fabric all over this house, but it's not like I want to be running around looking for white cotton fabric. So I bought different kinds, plus I bought sheets. So maybe I'll bring that out, and I got 2 that came in already. So, okay, so what we got here to start, what is this? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So I've got 12 pounds of butter here. Okay, this is what I'm going to can. You can see. So all that should fit into my pot. This one is salted. These ones are unsalted. Right? Don't can salted butter by itself because apparently it comes out real salty. But if you insist on using salted butter, then at least go half and half. At least half and half. But in this situation, I'm doing a little more. Okay? I'm doing it this way. Okay? I think that should be pretty good right there. So hold on. Okay, so I'm just letting this kind of get a little bit more to room temperature. Right, so what I'm going to end up doing is opening up a few of these, cutting them up into pieces, and putting them in the pot and just let them, you know, get it to that ambient temperature within what's in the environment, right? And then open up the other ones and, okay? And then otherwise they're going to be going in the pot. So anyway, these are like not too bad. You can hear it. They're a little chewy, but you know what? It would take a long time. You can see. I love these buckets, people. Now, as depressed as I am, like I said, it doesn't take much to trigger me. I'm trying to stay focused here. So basically, I think what I'm going to do is keep it easy on myself for now. I might cut one bucket. What I'm trying to say is, put them away long-term storage. in the consistency that they're in right now is basically the consistency that was in that jar that was underneath here for eons. Okay? See? It just, when you get deeper in, it's a little more chewy, but that's okay. And, I mean, I could go as far as making date sugar and blah, 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 blah. Maybe another day when I'm bored and I got nothing to do, except maybe spend a bit of time on that, just for the sake of it. But other than that, I have another box. I got it for $40. Well, maybe not 40. Maybe 48. Something like that. 25 pounds, I think. I have to look on the box. So what I'm saying is, I'm just going to basically store these as is. Now, you don't put an oxygen absorber in these, especially when they're gooey. Okay, whatever you do, don't do it. And these are still too moist on the inside, because that's where you're going to come into problems, right? But because there's air in there, over a period of time, like in that jar, those dates are just going to continue to shrink and slowly but surely dry out more on their own. So that's what I'm just going to let it do for now. Because I want to clear this shit out. Because I get flack for it. You know, she's ragging on. You gotta get these buckets out of here. They're too heavy. You know, you got too many buckets. And I said, yeah. Why do you think I've been asking you to come by and help me? Just, like, they just don't, they don't get it, people. Because I keep doing shit, right? So I look normal. See, I'm working with food and look what's happening. My nose is running. So you just take it all for granted. And then, I'm like, yeah, well, whatever. I know. I got tired, right? Because this is not easy. It's not easy doing this stuff. And then she went on the attack with those stupid bags. And I'm like, Andre's running off with the bags. So she won't run off with them. Like, why? Why? That's not helping me. Right? I tell her, just come here, do as I ask, but you're fucking done by now. Instead, she's rushing around, and you come here, she drops off her kids, and she comes, picks them up, and she rushes out the door. Okay, whatever. There's a couple times she offered to come by. I have to give her credit. But I just told her no. I just kind of like in the middle of doing this, right? Or I was tired or whatever it was. Just give me a little more time to finish up what I'm doing. And then for sure, when, I need help with Auntie Shemay's room. Or the quote unquote business room that nobody cares about. Goes back to that, well, it's just easier to throw it out in the fucking road, right? Or give it to their friends. Yeah, okay. Did that already, alright? For what it was worth. I'm so mad, man. I'm so just more than mad. I'm so discouraged. Like, this shit fucking discourages me. I told Tisha, like, what the fuck, right? Like, you do realize that I'm going blind here, right? Like, and then, of course, she took that to attack me. Oh, well, yeah, obviously you can't see, look at it, why do you need these bags? And what's going on with all those buckets? And you need to get rid of those buckets. And I'm like, yeah, well, they're going downstairs. I just got tired. And, oh, you got dishes on your counter and there's a pizza box. I said, yeah, we had pizza, like what? I didn't do dishes yesterday because I was online looking at other things, right? Taking some downtime. I was washing dishes at 4:30 in the morning this morning. I just didn't want to wash dishes yesterday. And Andre goes through a lot of dishes, people. He piles them up. Okay? Oh, Andre should be washing dishes. I said, yeah, well, it would help if, Alex would come by and fix underneath that fucking sink, right? So that we can use the other side of that sink. It's only been 8 months, almost a year now, right? Oh, well, he's coming and we ordered the part. And I said, yeah, okay, well, whatever. Like, shut up, man. Like, fuck. Right? I mean, technically it should be my landlady. But you see, this is how they do it. They keep you fighting in the inside so that you implode. This is nothing fucking new here, people. Like, Uncle John, yeah, Uncle John, his words are ringing, so, the landlord keeping us fighting all the time. Not fixing this, not whatever, or fixing and it's breaking and it's not fixed properly and then we have to do it fucking again and then we are the ones that get gaslighted for the stupid shit because it never got fixed right the fucking first time and it was broken before we moved in or we had to wait fucking 8 months to get it fucking fixed or whatever the fuck it is, man. Well, it's the same stupid shit underneath this stupid sink, right? And they justify it because they're selling the house, so they don't want to spend not one red cent in it unless of course it's something like the water tank. And even then they brought me some fucking used broken down water tank that I caught wind of and made sure that they came in with a new one. As if, right? So anyway, I told her, you got time for your friends. Go off and do this and do that. I wash kids for you, right? But, for your mom, doesn't seem that way, right? Like, fuck, well, I do stuff for you. Yeah, you do. You go to the grocery store once or twice a month. You pick me up a few tomatoes, a couple of cucumbers, some lettuce, some milk, some bread, eggs. You went and got me cat litter and some cat food. Right? When the rabbits run out of food, she goes off and gets the rabbit food and the hay, okay? But then she did bring me those fucking rabbits. It's not like I came and got those rabbits. She brought those rabbits here. But Andre looks after those rabbits. Whatever, those rabbits are happy. As if I can drive off and go get that stuff, right? And that's only once or twice a year she does that. But the rabbit food she has to get more often, right? She takes Amari to appointments from time to time. Okay, fair enough. But, when you're in my situation, housebound, never get to go fucking out, you can, you're losing your eyesight, right? Your workload is just the same, if not more, right? It's harder to do because you can't see, right? Very well. I mean, you can see, but there's some things that, like paperwork, like, I told her, I need you to come by and sit down and help me start sorting out this paperwork that I got in here because it's too hard to see it, people. This stuff I can still kind of do. Well, not kind of. I can do. But it's not easy. It's hard. And, my eyes are like feeling, they're drying out. And, today I have a headache. And, and I'm having to fight over stupid paper bags. Like, what the hell? And if it's not that, I'm being criticized over fucking, hundreds and hundreds of dollars of food grade quality buckets with gamma lids. This shit's not cheap, right? With quality organic food in them, people, being preserved in the best way you could possibly fucking preserve it. And do I get a thank you? No! No, I don't! And I'm like, you need to go to the fucking food bank. Maybe if you stood in the fucking food bank line for a fucking year, you'd get a freaking clue. She don't need to stand in a fucking food bank. And because of that, somehow it makes her better. She's got 2 little fucking kids. Do you know how easy it is to watch 2 little kids? Compared to what I've done all these years with 5 that grew up with shit. With their cell phone bad attitudes. And I'm still there. Like, what the fuck, man? anyway, I have no regrets. None. I would teach Andre how to cook. Marquis does too, a little bit. But I'm going to encourage Andre to think about getting his own restaurant. I already ran it by him today. Told him, if you want to be a chef, the best thing you could possibly do is try and get your own restaurant. And find your niche with foods that homemade, right? This one had a pit. Homemade. I'll teach you how to make pet a hair. I'll teach you how to make cabbage rolls. Obviously, we're going to do the sourdough and bread and all that stuff. And just a whole lot of other shit. I'll teach them all that. What I can still see as I'm being abused by my fucking kids, man. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if Andre will ever be able to have his own restaurant. But he might. He'd enjoy that more than working for some quote-unquote ritzy hotel that wants to inoculate him because they're looking for their perks from the government. They're not looking out for the employees. They're just looking for the fucking handout from the government in terms of those buyouts and payouts and whatever it is these bigger companies do. Plus, if he has his own little restaurant, he can bring Amari to work. And Mari can supervise and be Chef Amari. If he never becomes a chef, well, that's okay too. Because looking after Amari is a full-time job. And I told Andre that too. Right. Nobody can't say that if Andre looks after Amari, that he's not earning his way. So anyway, because somebody's going to have to look after Amari. And there's not that many people showing an interest in Amari. So these people that say that when these disabled children get bigger and, you know, they start to fall through the cracks because nobody fucking cares about them, they're not kidding. So what I'm going to do now that the dates are done, so what I'll do is when it's pressure canning, I'll open up the other box of dates. I was going to do the same thing. I'm going to put them whole onto the trays and just start dehydrating. Because you got to dehydrate for quite a long time, right? And then, you know, if I want to, maybe the next batch, I'll cut them up and make them smaller and make them more crunchier. Otherwise, they can just stay like that in the bucket. They'll be fine. And when I have time, I can always backtrack. See, I ate that date and this histamines, eh? That's what this yard did. Yeah. I come into contact with that morning glory and all those other fucking weeds and raccoon shit and mold and algae and dust and grit and fucking sand and oh God knows what, right? Year after year after year, fucking 10, 12 hours a day sometimes. I'd go out there, work, I'd take, and just keep on working. It screwed me over, man. And then being shot up with those little energy weapon bullets and there's things that fly through the grass and, you know? Yeah, we know. So bad. So, anyway. Okay, so, jars are in the oven. They're ready to go. Canner is ready to go. I'm going to open these up. I'm going to put a few butter in here just and let them just warm up a bit naturally on their own. I'm going to open up these, let them just warm up naturally on their own. And I'm going to do this. It's going to be easy peasy, right? And the video that I'm looking at, she kept her lids in water on medium-low heat, low heat, right? Just enough to soften the rim. In the old days, you used to have to do that, but, they've taken so much off that either or the company says you don't need to do that, but because we're dealing with fat, I guess you can say, maybe it might help. I don't know. So I'm going to do it her way because any water on the lid, because you're pressure canning anyway, is going to evaporate out after the fact within the pressure canner, right? So I will be warming the lids up on the stove in water so that when I'm ready to put these in the jar, you wipe everything down with vinegar and then you can use those lids. So that's what I'm going to do. And hopefully, I've got 14 jars here, and hopefully I'll have, 14 jars honestly might not be enough, right? Because if you look here, that's about a pint. So 1, 2, 3, 4 was probably 5 jars. 4 pounds is probably about 5 jars. So 5, yeah. 10, 15 jars, and I've got 14 jars. And I think that's all my canner takes is 7 and 7. I'm not sure. I'd have to probably double check. So maybe what I'll do, that's quart size. I can do 7 quarts. These are pints, so they're smaller. So maybe what I'll do is I'll wash a couple of more jars. And I guess I should get them in the oven, eh? Just to be double sure. Because I'm just going to mix it all up. I'm going to do it all. Hold on. Okay, so you can't teach your kids to value canning anything if they don't want to can. Okay? Any more than you can teach your kids to value paper bags. Right? So, I got such a fucking headache. It's my eyes, people. Oh my God. They're drying out with these drops and Anyway, I mean, it's just tight right now. So anyway, you can see what I did there. And that's just to help it warm up a little bit. So that when you get it in the pot and you turn on the heat on low, and you start warming it up slowly, right? On low, very low, right? What do you call it? It will just go faster because it's not so cold, right? So I'm just going to let it sit like this for about 15, 20 minutes. And there's no going back now. I have to do this. So going to do this. Okay, so now I'm going to turn on this stove here. I don't got all day. It's already, I don't even know what time it is, but it's probably going on 3 or 4 in the afternoon. After this is all pressure canned, you got to shake this stuff for like hours. But I'm going to see if I can make some room in my fridge, and then after they cool down to a certain point, you know, I'll shake, right? And then I'm going to put them in the fridge and continue to shake. And then just because they're in a cold fridge, they'll solidify sooner because, you know, I'm tired, right, people? Yeah. So anyway, I watched another video, reading more comments. Another woman, she didn't bring her butter to a simmer and let it boil so that you get the foam and then skim off the foam. She just basically melted the butter, right? And then when she went to jar up her jars, she just made sure she went deeper into the pot to, you know, because you want to get the milk solids mixed in with the fat, okay? So I don't know why the other woman would bring it to a low simmer with a light boil to it, just right to get, so you skim off all that and whatever. I don't know if she's trying to bring it up to a certain temperature before she jars it, or if she's trying to maybe remove the milk solids to some degree, maybe not all of them, but either or. I think I'm going to, because I don't want to make ghee, right? I don't think it's necessary myself to have to bring it to that simmer boil simmer or whatever, and start skimming off a whole bunch. I don't know. This is my first time. Now, the other thing is, if you introduce salted butter in with your canning butter, which is unsalted, apparently the salted butter... Andre, will you turn that down, please? Yeah. Apparently the salted butter makes the product a little grainy. But when you go to use it and cook with it, it dissolves, okay? So it's more for aesthetic reasons to look at, because, you know, I guess you can see the grains. I don't know, never done it before. As if I'll be able to see any grains in the butter after the fact. Okay. Oh, I don't know. So anyway, we're just going to warm this up on low for now. I don't think I'm going to bring it to a boil. I think, because I plan on doing this again anyway, people. This is my first attempt. And then when I go shopping, when I go out for my eyes, you know, I'm probably going to go into Walmart and wander around, and I'll just pick up another 12 or more packs of butter. And then maybe in that situation, I'll go with just strictly unsalted butter versus, what did I have? 5 salted and 10 unsalted, I think. Now, I guess you can put the lid on this. It's on low. If you put the lid on, it will heat up a little more in terms of the heat will backdraft into the top part of the butter. Now, I still have all this other butter out here, so I don't know. As if I can even find the lid now. I don't know what I did with the lid. I can't see it. I have to go find this lid. Okay, so the only reason I can think of as to why you'd want to skim off the foam, okay, would be because when it's in the pressure canner, it's starting to heat up, and maybe you get that vortex going, right? You get that foam. But I don't know. I've looked at 2 videos, and one woman didn't take it to that level in terms of bringing it to a low to medium boil to get that foam, which a lot of it would be air bubbles, right? Where another one did. So I am with this batch. I'm just gonna melt it and keep it warm and put it into hot jars, wipe the rims, and then 75 minutes in the pressure canner, and we're gonna see what we get. And then the next time I go out, I'll buy a whole bunch more butter, and I'll do it one more time. And if I'm not satisfied with what happens today, right, in terms of jar sealing, because the only thing I'd be concerned about would be the foam getting underneath the lid and preventing the lids from sealing. But even if you were to get rid of the foam, you're still going to get stuff probably coming out, right? But in that situation, you want to make sure you have a good 1-inch headspace, right? So this is almost ready to go in terms of, it's like cooking your meat halfway before you can it versus putting it in raw, right? You don't have to bring it up to a, I mean, you can cook something and can it, or you can can it raw in terms of meat, right? Or you can half cook it, right? I like it half cooked or fully cooked versus just putting it raw into a jar with salt. I mean, for a quick, get it done with fast, yeah, maybe, but I prefer to half cook it at least, right? So this is pretty much, I think, done in terms of what we're going to do here. And it's getting late. It's like going on 7. And I guess you have to move these things back and forth every 15 minutes to a half an hour. But I made some room in my fridge. So I am going to, once they're cool enough to put into the fridge.
Everything else, it doesn't matter who's in what office. Trump was great. But they still tried to do the same thing.
I'm going to move them into the fridge to speed up that, process of it hardening, right? And just shake them every now and then in the fridge because you have to mix the fat with the milk solids, right? So by doing it this way,
and I have 2 young children, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit worried. I know that I have guys covering over my family, but any type of recommendation
without skimming it.
To look out for.
Well, I mean, I gotta tell you, if you're downwind from this,
I don't know.
I would think it would be smart to.
We're
leave
just
for
trying
a
this.
couple months if you've got family where you can go.
Right.
God protects us from God gives us trained food. And then I would go off local groups for testing the food and water. Unfortunately, it's winter, which is fortunately, but unfortunately throughout the summer, you probably won't be able to trust a lot of the produce.
So I like to use a metal funnel, but this isn't really hot, so it should be fine.
And government direction of it. But of course, the government instead telling you it's all safe.
And when you do this,
you go ahead and eat the food. So
kind of
that's my
stir it
recommendation.
around
God bless you, sir, and I appreciate your great point about.
so you get a little bit of everything and not just one thing,
It's a song you used to play. I haven't heard it in years.
right?
Who does it? It's like they
This
want
is where
your
I
soul.
can't
We
see.
want your soul. Get a car. Get a loan.
In terms of that headspace,
Find that song if you can. I want to play it. Coming in 6
But-
after next hour. David in Ohio got about a minute and a half. Thanks for calling. Thanks for holding. Retired railroad.
my days with this will be almost over, I think, soon.
Hey, Alex, got a good connection?
I'll never get my eyesight back.
Okay, first off, as for the infrastructure,
Right.
I want to remind everybody
It's
that
just
the
a fact
railroads
of life.
are fully responsible for all of their.
I did a little Google search on glaucoma there.
Not tax money.
I put it under that troll comment that I posted on a few videos back. And I guess 3 years of high PSI going untreated.
I never worked for Norfolk
after you've had cloma for a while, definitely will make you freaking blind.
We know Antifa on the left have been sabotaging infrastructure.
And give you 3 years. That's pretty much what I had. Only 2 years.
Don't hang up. It's only a 2-minute break.
2.5 years.
David, retired railroader, on the other
And when you're
side.
busy like me, 2.5 years goes really fast. You don't even stop to think about it.
Oklahoma,
It's not like I didn't try and hook up with clinics to get referrals, people.
Axe in Wisconsin.
Anyway, I can't get mad about that, right?
Warrior calls it
It's
received
too late now.
from the UFO shootdown.
I mean, I'm mad, but
to all the rest of our
being mad
children,
isn't going to
our
change
mainstream media
anything
voted suicide for children.
when it comes to my eyes,
And we have a special guest
right?
who's been brought up in these congressional hearings about big tech spying censorship
So-
popping in as well. Stay with us. All right.
So basically, I'm just going from jar to jar now,
Action. We learned about it about an hour ago.
filling them up as best as I can from what I can
Jeffrey
see.
Epstein files have dropped. They're
I'm
on
just
Infowars.com
going to the
as we
rim
speak. It's being posted. So I'll have to hit a little
of
bit of
this,
that. Not have
funnel.
to, but I don't really want to get into it until I've had time to go over it. But you can bet that I've got crew and
I
researchers
guess stir it around every now and then,
right now searching it. This is the list of clients.
right?
Whole 9 yards they've been suppressing. It's a big.
So I didn't bring it to a high heat, but the jars are extremely hot.
How they control people.
And don't forget, this is going to be in the pressure canner for 75
David
minutes.
in Ohio.
So,
David, you are on the air. You were going to finish up getting
Yeah, I
in.
can't.
Believe me, it could be
I can't
sabotage
see.
as a railroader.
Oh, boy.
When it comes to operations for the maintenance of their equipment, their roadbed, and for the safety of the employees, Norfolk
Okay, let me
Southern
focus on this,
in the United States.
and then I'll come back.
Now, here
Okay, so you can see, because I didn't skim it, what's going on here. But either or, the grease would push up anyway in the canner. Now, I did not put these in water because it's going into a pressure canner anyway, right? So I don't want to introduce water into this. So you can see what I'm doing. Oh my God, I had beluga lentils in my burner. Go to turn on the canner there and turn up the heat to high, and whoa, smoke all over the place. You know, I'm getting picked on for freaking bags, paper bags at that.
Scene that unfolded there. But
You know, trying to do the right thing.
we got droughts, we got famines, okay, we got shit happening all around the world. You cannot possibly expect somebody in Europe who is seeing 20% inflation, or some African who is going through a famine, to really care about the soft kill consequences of a train derailment in Ohio, which is going to be highly localized.
Are you
I
listening?
mean, our waterways are already contaminated.
They're already talking about it with sabotage.
Disasters are abound.
There's 2 more.
This isn't some BP oil spill type incident that is going to have an international impact. I mean, it's all
Going down now.
to
Close the front door.
go into
And,
in some way, shape, or form.
The world is on the brink of war here.
Don't just go from hyperfixating on the UFO thing to hyperfixating on one other isolated.
This is, what do you call that, Canadian
Big
prepper.
picture here is that they're elevating the DEFCON level without effectively doing so. That is the purpose, in my personal opinion. I believe that that is the most rational explanation.
He's
for
kind
what
of a
is happening
doomsdayer,
right
but
now with all of these
he comes
exercises
with some
taking
pretty
place.
good
Now,
information.
understand, there is a death spiral that is occurring here.
Yeah.
We're talking about an escalatory chain of events that has now been triggered
All over the
by
place.
all of these unprecedented amount of shoot downs. I'm going to be saying unprecedented a lot from here on in, because everything is unprecedented. We're living in the age of consequences. Anyways, Russia has now deployed 3 nuclear warships, not just any nuclear warships, but specifically armed with tactical nukes. This is important because this hasn't been done in 30 years. This is according to Norwegian intelligence.
Oh, I gotta
They
go
have
see what's going on with him, Marty.
of strategic warfare.
Seriously, this is what I get ragged on. Okay, so I fell asleep. As you can see, I finally took them out of the canner. Well, I'm shaking them now. Right, but I don't know. I fell asleep. So, But I don't think it would have mattered in terms of the shaking part because all the milk solids, they go down to the bottom. Alright, they're not gonna solidify until the actual fat itself solidifies, but I made room in my fridge. So I'm gonna put these in my fridge pretty soon. Have a coffee first, wake up. And then put them in my fridge and continue doing this in the fridge. And because it's cold in the fridge, these will solidify faster, right? Okay, so I'm going to end this video. I don't know what happened here, but whatever these women go on about where you have to do this every 15 minutes. This one you can still hear. I just washed the jars, okay? I was going to put them in the fridge, but honestly, I don't need to. Because I don't have too many jars that I can actually shake. Right? Because when I fell asleep, and then everything just sat in the pressure canner. And then when I got up, I don't know, it was like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning or whatever the hell it was. And I took them out of the canner and, you know, I started shaking them. And I've only shook them a few times since that time. And it's already 5:45 in the morning. And I turned down the heat even more than what it was, you know. And it's pretty much already solidified. I don't even have to put them in the fridge. Look at this. Do you see? Do you see what's going on? So these are gonna love Auntie Shamay's room, man. You don't know. Oh yeah. So what are my feelings on this? Well, I already said I was gonna do it again. Right? Now, whether I do it this way, like I did it, which was simpler in terms of don't have it, you know, because you don't want to bring, it's like beef fat, okay? When you're rendering beef fat, the less temperature that you bring it up to, the better for the fat. Where when you're rendering pork fat, you can bring it up to a higher temperature and you have a little extra window of time to work with it in order to put it into jars real hot, because it's almost at that boil, if not at a boil, right? Into hot jars, put your lid on, turn it upside down. 15, 20 minutes later, whatever, turn it up the other way. And the jar's going to seal, and it will be shelf stable for years. And you can bring it up even to a higher temperature. Whereas with beef fat, once you start bringing it up to that higher temperature, I don't know, I don't want to say it burns, but it changes the molecules, right? And I think that's why they just recommend putting it in the freezer when you render it. And any kind of fat, anytime you bring it up to heat, it starts to deteriorate. Well, butter is fickle, we know that. It burns very, very quickly, right? So in the sense of just basically melting the butter without even bringing it anywhere near to a boil like I did, and not worrying about skimming off air bubbles or milk solids or whatever, that when people bring it to that boil and then start to skim it before they put it in their jars, but they do it before it turns into ghee. Okay, they do it right before it turns into ghee. Okay, because once it turns into ghee, that's it. And that's where the milk solids and the impurities or whatever all separate from the fat, and that's how you get that golden olive oil looking oil, which is the animal fat, right? So anyway, this is unnecessary what I'm doing here because it's already done. And I'm going to put cooking butter on the lid. right? Because it's like, goes to that golden rule, any acid food, low acid food, should be heated up before consuming it. So, you know, it's more for, with mashed potatoes, you can, you know, warm up the butter on the side. And because this wasn't brought to a boil initially, it was just basically melted on low. I mean, obviously it went through the pressure canning process and there was some sort of a heat going on in there, but not enough to change it as if you were cooking it like this, right? Because it will, when you turn it into ghee, it does start to burn on the bottom, right? But using it as a spread on, you know, before I would ever do anything like that, I mean, you could take out a half of this a year later from this jar, put it into a pot, bring it to that light boil, right? Put a lid on it, turn it real low, and keep it boiling for that 10 minutes. Turn off the pot, let it cool, pour it into a butter dish, put it into your fridge, give it a day, and then you'll have your spreadable butter. Versus coming in with the knife and scooping it out. And I wouldn't recommend that, right? But other than that, I think it's perfectly fine, right? In light of everything that I've canned over the years. You know, animal fat is animal fat is animal fat. And oftentimes it's considered a natural preservative to preserve things. I guess in this situation, we've got a bit of water. You know, we've got the heavy, you know, like the calcium and those types of things that are in cow's milk. They call them milk solids. I don't know. Either or, it doesn't matter. So yeah, so now I don't even have to put these in the fridge because they're mostly done now. You can see, okay? And I'll just put cooking butter on it, right? If I wanted to make a fine pastry or something, would I heat it up before I'd use it? Well, I think it would all depend on when I open the jar, what it smells like. If it smells like butter, then no, probably not. I'd probably just use my quarter cup, half a cup, or whatever it is that I need for my pastry. Make my pastry, be aware, right? Put it in the oven, cook it, and once it's in the oven, if there's any pathogens, you know, you're killing them off, but you'd have to make sure that you went behind and cleaned up and not try and cross-contaminate. But, you know, I'm not too worried about that. Usually when a jar is no good, you can tell, right? And these are going in a very cool, dark place, so they're not going to move. Not going to move. Right, this is how they are upstairs right now. And once I put them downstairs, close to the ground towards the north wall, oh, they're not going anywhere. Okay, so I'm going to just say one other thing. And that is, you know, I just don't get it, people. Tisha fought with me and wanted to run out the door with my bags. She stressed everybody out, including Andre. He grabbed the bag and ran off down the hall with it to keep it away from her. As she's grabbing my miscellaneous bubble wrap, wanting to run off with it because she thinks I should throw it out. And that somehow I'm blind and I can't see that I have a problem. Even though I try and tell her, well, you know, Tisha, like, I'm almost done. I want to get into, you know, selling stuff, and you're going to help me, right, you know, and okay, if that's the case, like, you know, how am I going to put things in the mail? And, well, bubble wrap is expensive to buy, right? This is just something that's kicking around, but I have, like, whole rolls of it coming in when I buy these jars, or it comes in with the packaging with the boxes that come in, and, you know, and it's just, oh my God, people. right? She expects me just to go out and buy new paper, new boxes, new bags, new bubble wrap, new everything, if and when I ever get a chance to sell anything, so I can ship it out. Okay? That's bullshit. There's nothing wrong with this bag. I'm going to use this bag for a lot of reasons. It's sturdy. Like real sturdy. And she wants to throw it out. And expects me to go out and buy if and when I should ever need it. But, you know, at the rate I'm going, I'd never need it because I don't get the help with the things that I do need help with when I ask for help. You know, certain things, right? I'm not talking about just going to the grocery store and buying me some fucking lettuce and a couple of tomatoes, you know. I'm other things, you know, especially the you know, to try and put things online or whatever, right? You know, I have visions of me just, I don't know. You don't even know. You don't even want to know. Okay. So now I'm hiding my fucking bags. I'm hiding my bags from my son, because if he goes anywhere near his space, he's just going to throw them out in the garage, right? I got to hide them now from my daughter, who might pop in and decide that I got too much shit on the floor, not fucking taking, you know, any interest as to why, right? Or even show gratitude that there's backup, you know what I'm saying? And instead wants to just be a shit disturber. You know? That's what I mean by teaching kids values. I don't tell teacher to just go and start grabbing shit. Like, what the fuck? I tell her I don't do that shit. I don't go at your fucking house and talk to you like this or treat you like that or expect you to do this or tell you to do that. I don't do nothing like that. I give you shit. All the time. And when I'm gone, you'll get it all. And when I'm blind, you can fucking pillage it right with me sitting there not fucking being able to see it happen when it happens with the attitude that you got. You're not going to ask me, gee, Mom, what do you want to do with this bag of paper? You're just going to take it behind my back now that I can't fucking see, right? And you're just going to throw it off to the freaking garbage can. Yeah, okay. That's what my life is boiled down to. But when she comes across something she wants, she's just going to take it. Because I don't need it no more. You know? Well, whatever. Fuck off already. Fuck off. So we're back to the fuck off. You know? Get the fuck out of here. I don't need your help. Go away. I'll fucking do it for myself. I'll figure it out for what it's worth. You know? Well, I'll go get a babysitter. I said, yeah, you do that. You know? In terms of, I'm not bringing the kids here no more. You don't have to babysit because... And I'm like, every time she brings them by, I'm so exhausted by that point because I've already been up since 2:30 in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, that by 9, 10 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock at night, 6, 7 o'clock at night, I'm bagged. I'm like, what the hell? Does she care about that? No, not at all. So I don't know. All over bags. That was just the excuse, though. Right? These ones, you see, these ones you still have to kind of shake. Now, a couple of these had more milk product in it, right? So that could be why. These ones could be the ones that had the most. I mean, there's not much you can do about that other than to try and stir your pot as you're filling up the jars, right? Seems like every jar sealed. Yeah. See, this one's hardly moving now. Every jar sealed. That's nice. Look at that. Look how nice that is, people. Oh my God. So yeah, I'm gonna, next time I do it though, I'm gonna do it just all unsalted. This one had 4 salted to whatever it was. I already forgot how many of these I had, but we seen that. Okay, so I'm gonna end this video now.